Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Chucky Season 3, Episode 3, Jennifer's Body. I don't know how to feel about this episode. It was a nice, charming episode. When I watch Chucky, I don't want to feel charmed. I want to feel a sense of horror and suspense and thrills, And there was a point of that early on in the beginning, only to be duped. But this episode took a turn in a direction I did not see coming, which was kind of hilarious in a way. But also, it's the point where I don't want to laugh in Chucky. You know what I'm saying? To me, Chucky is horror slasher. And when they keep going that silly route, then this episode actually reminded me a lot of Bride of Chucky. It reminds me of when the dolls were in the back of the car, they killed that dude, and they're trying to cover the body up before the two people come into the car and stuff like that. It reminded me of that. But there's some interesting revelations in this episode. Why Chucky is in the White House. Why he wants to kill 6 people. And we learn that Chucky is actually dying and he can't transfer his soul into nothing else. It's to the point where, I have a feeling this might just be the last season. I just got that strange feeling. Because one, the writer's strike and the actor strike really screwed this season up to where there's only one more episode until a huge hiatus until next year. Also, a lot of main characters like Tiffany, played by Jennifer Tilly, are actually recurring characters. She isn't even main. And that's really shocking right there. And, there hasn't been much of Andy seen this season, which he's very scarce anyway, but, he's even more so this season. But I was surprised to see him in this episode only to be duped and everything. And so, yeah, I just have a feeling this could be the last season. If Chucky can't do what he needs to do, he is literally gonna die and everything. And I guess they want to do it 3 seasons, maybe, kind of like a trilogy of a TV show. But this show has been, in my opinion, downgraded from that of the first season. It just doesn't feel the same as the first season. And the first season is what got me into the whole Chucky, movies and everything. And so I don't like it when they take this more comedic approach. Even though this episode was all right, I still just don't want to see comedy in Chucky, But yeah, I got totally duped. And I don't know how I feel about that because I'm on both sides of the fence. So here's my feelings about this overall season. Just the 3 episodes we got. Okay, so when it comes to the family in the White House, the first family, that's very intriguing. And it's cool that they're going old school Chucky with that. Innocent little kid has a doll, thinks it's alive, and then the doll starts killing people. Classic, classic, classic. That's interesting. The characters are interesting. And I've said this last week. If you're gonna have the family in the White House, then you don't need the trio because they're irrelevant in everything. Just focus on that story and that story alone. But they keep cramming the trio in because, and I mean literally cram. The trio have absolutely nothing really to do this season because they are not the main focus. Basically, the trio are that of Kyle and Andy. They're just there to clean up Chucky's mess and kill his behind once and for all. And get rid of every Chucky doll. So that's the role they have now, which really feels weird because this is technically their show. But here's the interesting thing, because they've been focused so much on the first 2 episodes of the White House family, people have forgot about the whole Caroline thing from last season, which I still have not seen because, like, I haven't finished the last season. She's been mentioned, but now she finally shows up in the third episode. And I like this duo of her and Chucky. For the first time, we have a kid who's kind of innocent, but she's actually going along with all of Chucky's craziness. She doesn't mind that, like, he's killing people and all this stuff. So she like, teach me and everything. This is such a different thing. We had a little bit of that in the first season with the one cousin guy, but not that much. But with her, we really thought she was sweet and innocent, like, in the first season. But now it turns out she is just as crazy as Chucky, but she has a very charming quality about her. She has this sweet, innocent look to her all the time when she just holds Chucky and looks at everybody in a very cavalier kind of way. But, like, she's evil like Chucky and Tiffany, but she just doesn't act like them. She acts like a normal person who's willing to do bad stuff, or at least willing to watch. That is very fascinating. And if they would have kept it, and I wish they would have kept it to that in season 3, where we follow her and Chucky, and then the trio will have a reason to be in this season, especially because of Lexi. However, one thing I will say about Caroline, why are they putting such dark red ruby lipstick on her? I'm sorry, but she's a child. Like, I don't need to see that. Like, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's disturbing. However, if the actress herself actually has natural ruby red lips and that's not makeup, then I'll give it a pass. But it is kind of cool just seeing her carry Chucky around, talking to him around everybody, and people just kind of like, little girl, are you okay? And she's like, oh, I'm fine. And so we see Kenan Thompson in this. He's the cab driver. I've been waiting for this episode to see what's exactly going to happen. And he thinks that she has an AI doll that can move around on its own and talk and stuff. That's a perfect, like, disguise and everything, because that's all Chucky has to say. I'm an AI doll and all this other crap, and people will believe it. And that's a nod to the 2009 Chucky movie that I still haven't seen yet. It was free a couple of years ago on Freevee, but they took it off now. I just want to see what it's about. I hate the way his face looks and stuff, though. But anyways, so, of course, Chucky is getting annoyed by that of the cab driver. And because, like, he's basically talking about, I ain't gonna drive you around. Y'all talking about murdering people and all this other crap. Like, you see how cavalier that is? She's just a normal looking little girl talking about murdering people and all this other crap, and has a talking doll. So, Chucky decides, look, man, I had enough of this crap. And he goes all penguin on him. If you ever watched the Fox show Gotham, the Penguin was in there and he had an umbrella on one season and shoved it down a guy's throat. There, they couldn't show much because of censors. Here, you literally see him ram that umbrella down Kenan Thompson's throat. And then he opens up the umbrella and it splats like his throat open and everything, which is unbelievable, but still is funny to see. And so, after that, Chucky and Caroline, they head out to like a hotel where they're hiding out. And he makes her read the Voodoo for Dummies books. And so while he's sleeping, we don't know he's sleeping at first. At first, we think he heads to Andy's place. And when he does, he butchers the crap out of Andy, just like stabbing him over and over and over and over, and will not stop. It goes on for at least over a minute of stabbing. And I'm all like, yes, this is what I want to see when it comes from Chucky. It is a slasher television series. But then I'm all like, oh, no, man, Andy's dead. Like, that just sucks. But then it turns out to be a dream. He's dreaming of killing Andy because he really hates Andy, which is why Andy needs a full season. Like, having him being sporadic in the show just isn't enough. He is the one that Chucky hates the most and everything, and we need to have a full season with just him and Chucky, or at least a movie or something. But like I said before, it turns out to be a dream. So now I feel indifferent and everything. I'm just kind of like, I was sad to see Andy go, but now I'm like, oh, now since it's a dream, now I'm pissed off and disappointed, because it's kind of like, if Andy is going to go out, he has to go out in a big way. And what better way is getting stabbed by Chucky and stuff like that? So it would have been a satisfying death, because he's a legendary character. But, you know, the fact that it's a dream, now I feel like I've been duped. And I hate when it's a dream sequence. I've said this before in Goosebumps and The Haunting Hour. The dream sequences are sometimes better than the actual episode. And I hate when they do that. But then Chucky comes to a realization that, like, his hair is falling out and he doesn't understand what the heck is going on. After reading the book, it turns out he is growing old and he is dying. So, of course, the only other person next near him is Caroline. So he tries to transfer his soul to her. First, he's whispering. Then he realized what the heck is going on. It ain't working. So then he's like, okay, maybe I have to shout it like I normally do. So then he starts to shout it, but she wakes up. And she tells him, plain and simple, she read the book from cover to cover, and she could have told him this was never going to work, that he has to go to the hospital. Now, I will say, I do appreciate that those two are sleeping in separate beds, because you got to remember, even though he is a doll, he's an old man in actuality. There's spirits inside that doll, and she's just a little girl. So I'm glad that they had the common sense to separate them in beds and stuff. But this is where everything gets even stranger. And I did not see this twist coming. So basically, they're at the hospital clinic, right? She's holding Chucky. They're both reading books. And I'm just kind of like, so people aren't going to question a doll reading a book. And I'm like, oh, wait, maybe they told him or told them it's AI or something. And then there's a man with a box and it's like growling and rumbling and stuff. I'm thinking, oh, he must have a pet in there. He said it's his ex. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, did he go bestiality and do his animal or something? Like, is he doing his pet? Like, what's going on? So then Chucky is talking to the doctor. And the doctor's all like, oh, like I'm thinking to myself, wait, hold up. Does the doctor think this is a dwarf or something? Like, what's going on? And so he's all like, your reputation precedes you and everything. So I'm like, okay, so he knows he's Charles Lee Ray and everything. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Oh, that was so uncomfortable when he stuck his hand up Chucky's butt for the prostate exam. And Chucky's just like there, all calm and natural and stuff. They didn't flinch or nothing. And it turns out that this is no ordinary clinic. This is a clinic that people who perform voodoo and transfer their souls into other things go to. So it's kind of like an underground type clinic. What the? Okay, that's just genius right there. It's silly and it's weird, but it's genius. You gotta give it up. And so, like, the doctor himself has been transferring his soul into other people. And he tells Chucky that, you know, I know what's wrong with you, but I haven't seen this since a couple of centuries ago. And they all just talk about all this like it's so natural and stuff. So basically it's like this. The voodoo god that Chucky worships and everything and used to transfer his souls into other beings and stuff is pissed at him and is no longer going to associate with him. Why? Because last season when the kids performed the exorcism on one of the Chucky dolls, two different religions clash with each other. The Christianity religion will not like accept the voodoo, and the voodoo will not accept the Christianity. So because of that, that voodoo god said, screw you, I'm out. So there's a way to get his forgiveness. Basically, this is why Chucky is in the White House and stuff. He has to go to a house that is like pretty much just like with like bad like vibes, like tons of people died in the house and something caused a lot of murder. He needs a murder house basically. So he takes Caroline to this one house where every couple of years people end up dead in the house. There are hundreds of dead people who have died at this house. So he goes inside and it's a room full of people partying. And he just slashes the crap out of every single last person. But we don't get to see it. I'm sorry, but if this is a slasher show, you're supposed to show that crap. When Sci-Fi had the Van Helsing show about vampires, oh, there was major blood in every episode. And you actually got to see people get slashed, gashed, shot, bit, everything. So they need to show this crap for like this show, or it's gonna feel tamed and everything. And that's what it's been feeling like for a good while. And so he realized nothing happened. And so she's getting annoyed and everything. Turns out this murder house just ain't good enough. So now they have to think of another murder house, which leads them to the White House. Chucky feels like, look, this house might not have a lot of murders. Only 10 people have died here, but it's pretty shady. Well, a lot of shady stuff be going on. Plus, he said, every president is responsible for like thousands upon millions of deaths. So that's a lot of murder, even though they didn't murder nobody indirectly or directly and everything. They did it indirectly. So this is when like he has to part ways with Caroline. She's boo-hooing about that. And so this is when he finds like Henry, I think that's his name, at Joseph's funeral, and he sneaks his way into the White House. And the thing is, he has to kill 6 people in order to be forgiven by that of the voodoo god and stuff. So now that explains the list. Now that explains why he's in the White House. But I don't understand why he just doesn't kill more people very quickly and stuff. Why is he taking his time? I don't get that. But anyways, this episode is called Jennifer's Body because we get to see Tiffany in this episode. She's the B plot of the story. And she's trying to plead that she's insane so she don't have to go to jail for murder. So basically, Lexi comes to her and asks, where's my sister? And this is how the trio finds out that there's another Chucky doll alive. And it's kind of weird because when you look at Tiffany in prison, she's pretty blinged out. She has jewelry on. She made her pants into booty shorts and everything. She has stiletto heels. She has long nails. It's very silly that she was given all this stuff while in prison. And it doesn't make no sense, which is making me start to believe again this could be the last season or the last time we see Jennifer Tilly. She's only a recurring character this season. And so, like, she has her trial and we get to see the trio and they testify against her. We also get to see their teacher alive because this was a couple of weeks ago, leading up to the beginning of the season. But the teacher doesn't get to say nothing. It's basically she has a cameo. And so, Tiffany trying to say she's not Jennifer Tilly. She just transferred her soul and all this and that. And she's found guilty. Not only is she found guilty, but like she's being sentenced to death by I think lethal injection. So she's freaking out. Like she wants the voodoo book back. She wants to transfer her soul. She is flipping out because she doesn't want to die. She's all like, I'm insane. Boy, I have said this before. You have got to give it up to Jennifer Tilly. She is a underrated actress, and thank God for the Chucky franchise because nobody would know that because nobody wants to hire her, mainly because of her voice and stuff. But she is so phenomenal in the role of Tiffany Valentine that she is just amazing. I get so excited when I see her on screen. Well, for two different reasons. But like because she is just so amazing in that role. And she deserves an award. Like seriously. Not to mention the woman looks amazing for 65 years old. Yes, she is 65 years old and she looks like that. And with a body like that, you gotta give it up. But Nico's in this episode and she's thrilled. We first see Nico in the beginning of this episode chasing after Caroline and Chucky in the wheelchair. Nobody tried to stop Nico. Like, it's kind of like, okay, look, there's a woman with no limbs in a wheelchair with metal arms and a hook for her hand, and she's chasing after a girl at night. Nobody tried to stop that, but she couldn't go down the subway like stairs. Anyway, she's at the trial and she's testifying against, like, Tiffany, and she's thrilled that Tiffany's gonna be put to death and talking about how she's gonna like roll over her grave when she's dead. And of course, she knows what her twins are, and Tiffany's all like, she wants to know like how they are and stuff like that. But Nico's just like, screw you, I'm so excited you're about to die. So even though this was a weird, kooky episode, it was all right because at least it was at least kind of humorous in a good way. But at that same time, like I said before, I don't like humor in Chucky. But that's damn Mancini's thing. He loves comedy horror, which I understand. It's just weird when you start off as horror, then you go into the camp. It just feels disconnected. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.